With the NFL season officially kicking off tonight with the Cowboys and the Eagles, I thought it'd be fun to look at an ESPN article that was released just a couple days ago and talk about the crazy predictions that they've got for the Ravens going into 2025. On today's show, we're going to be reacting to a couple of different things. Their odds to make the playoffs, projected wins, biggest strength and concern, fantasy football insight, and then some bold predictions. I'm going to give you my bold predictions for this season as well. Before we get into that, though, I want to make sure that we keep growing, keep moving, and keep going forward, okay? We currently are sitting at 34,239 subscribers, only 261 subs away to 34,500 of you guys. Look, we've been growing like crazy right here on the Ravens Rundown. I want to make sure that does not stop anytime soon. The football season officially starts tonight. We're going to have you covered all season long right here, daily videos, all 100% free. So if you haven't joined us yet, today is the perfect time to do so. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button. So the ESPN predictions look like this. The Baltimore Ravens playoff odds are 78.6% to make it to the postseason. The chance to win the division, 52.6%. So they like the Ravens to take home that AFC North title. I agree with them as well. Projected wins, 10.4. Schedule, 9th hardest in the NFL. And, of course, their record last year was 12-5. I want to start by talking about those projected wins, 10.4, because that is the highest in the National Football League this year. And I feel like that, paired with the fact that they play the 9th hardest schedule, right? 10.4, highest wins expected in the NFL, with the fact that you play a top 10 hardest schedule, to me, that just shows exactly how good ESPN feels about the Baltimore Ravens. How good they feel about them going into the season, how good they feel about that talent, the roster, and of course, the leader at the quarterback position in Lamar Jackson. But I love the fact that you've got some really hard games on your schedule because it's fun for us as fans to watch. I mean, look at these games that we get to watch throughout this entire season. And I only chose 5. I left 5 other easy ones that could have been on this list. Week 1, on the road in Buffalo. Week 3, at home, but you play Detroit. Week 4, on the road to Kansas City. And then Week 15 and Week 17, both of those road games in Cincinnati and in Green Bay. I did not even add the Rams game, the Texans games, either of the Steelers games. Like, this is going to be a really hard year, but I love it because I feel like it is what's best for this team. Not only do I love having a hard schedule because it gives us fans something to watch and something fun to watch every single week. You get to watch really good teams go against each other, but I just feel like it benefits the team the best. And to hear what I'm saying, I think we got to throw it back a couple of years to the 2023 Dallas Cowboys. They played that year one of the easiest schedules in the National Football League. Washington was terrible. New York was terrible. They got to play each of those teams 2 times. They also got to play the Carolina Panthers. They also got to play like 5 other teams, 6 other teams that finished the year with an under 500 record. That helped them finish the year 12-5. And then who remembers them getting blown out at home in the first round of the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers? They went throughout that year with a false confidence in themselves. They never really got tested. That's not going to happen to Baltimore this year. They're going to get tested from week 1 all the way up until week 17 because they continue to play really hard opponents. That way, when they get in the postseason and they're playing only good teams, they're not going to be seeing anything different. It's Vegas time, okay? They set the win total at 10.4 wins. Do you think Baltimore goes over that or under that this next year? I'm not going to lie. I'm feeling over. But you let me know how you feel about that in the comment section down below. Let's talk biggest strength now. ESPN said the biggest strength for the Baltimore Ravens was one Lamar Jackson. Now, does that surprise anybody? No. It shouldn't surprise anybody. And Jamison Hensley pointed out exactly why it shouldn't surprise anybody. The 2-time NFL MVP is the most explosive playmaker in the league. Last season, he was dangerous with his arms and legs, leading the NFL in yards per attempt at 8.8 and yards per carry at 6.6. With Jackson as its starting quarterback, Baltimore has a 70-24 record and has its sights set on a Super Bowl title. And last year, like we've told you and talked about before, he had his best year yet. First quarterback in NFL history to throw for more than 4,000 yards and rush for more than 900 yards. He set career highs in multiple categories, a career low in interceptions, and led them to a 12-5 record that saw them winning the AFC North. In my opinion, where we saw a really, really stark change in his career was when Baltimore added in Todd Monken, and of course, they added in T. Martin as well. I think those two have meant so much to Lamar Jackson and his career and his development as a passer. And what's scary about Lamar is this year, I would argue, he has better weapons than he's ever had. So I agree 100% with what ESPN has to say, because my biggest strength, I would say, for the Baltimore Ravens is one Lamar Jackson. As long as he suits up, as long as he's standing in your backfield, as long as he is getting the ball every single play, you can win every single game. Every single one. I know that sounds crazy, and it's crazy to say that this team has the ability to go 17-0, but it's hard for me to not set this team's ceiling at a perfect record, because that's how good I think their quarterback is. That's how good I think this roster is. What do you think is the Ravens' biggest strength? They say it's Lamar Jackson. I agree that it's Lamar Jackson. You might, for some reason, think it's something different. If you do, just let me know in the comment section down below and weigh in with your answer. Before I go any further, I got to tell y'all about our awesome sponsor of today's show, and that is our friends over at PrizePicks. Look, guys, this episode is brought to you on PrizePicks, and you and I, we make decisions every day. We decide what we want to eat for breakfast. We decide which route we want to take to work. But on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks, they put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks is super easy because it offers Venmo, Apple Pay, and MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. It also offers what I love, injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. They also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect, and you can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Speaking of my picks, though, they tend to hit. So if you want to tail me on tonight's PrizePicks lineup for the Cowboys-Eagles game, I'm not going to be mad whatsoever. In fact, I encourage you to do so. Use code CLNS when you sign up. More pass yards than half for Dak Prescott. That's what they like to call a max discount. I got more than half a receiving touchdown for CeeDee Lamb and less than 212.5 pass yards for Jalen Hurts. Feel like the Eagles might be up late, might just kind of run this ball out. But hey, if you're interested, download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The link to this promo is in the comments and also in the description of today's video. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. We thank PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video and making it happen. ESPN went on to say their biggest concern is Tyler Loop. And this is, I get what they're saying when they say this, although I might not agree 100%, they do make some really good points. They went on to say this has the makings of the most complete team in Jackson's 8-year run. The biggest change is going to go from Justin Tucker, the most accurate kicker in NFL history, to Loop, a 6th-round pick. Of the 128 place kickers in NFL history have attempted 20 or more kicks as a rookie, 19 have hit or exceeded 85%. And that's it. Like, I totally get where they're coming from. When you go from Justin Tucker to Tyler Loop, that is a stark contrast. But I think the biggest contrast in those two is their name value, not necessarily their ability to kick a football. Because what we've seen from the last 2 years from Justin Tucker, namely last season, I didn't like one bit whatsoever. I thought they maybe even should have cut him during the year. He lost you multiple football games. So yeah, Tyler Loop is an unknown, but how much worse is an unknown than a guy who's like 30th in the NFL in field goal percentage, which is what Justin Tucker was last year. I've liked what I've seen so far in Tyler Loop. He looked good in the preseason, 9 for 11. Field goal percentage after missing his first one. He made 10 of his next 10. 9 of his next 10. 88%. 8 for 8 on extra points. 100%. 35 total points. 61 yards was his longest. In my opinion, the biggest weakness is the interior of the defensive line. The biggest weakness is the depth in the interior of this defensive line. Because I like who they got there, but past the top guys, past Travis Jones, past Nnamdi Madubuike, there is massive question marks. And if this team can't stop the run, if they suffer an injury or two on the interior of that defensive line, things can get scary. Because I like John Jenkins. I like Anais Peebles. They're fine. I just don't love the depth in that position. It can be better. I wish it were better. Okay? So we talked biggest weakness. We talked biggest concern. Now, if you guys are playing fantasy football and if you haven't had your drafts yet, I don't know what you're doing because the game's tonight. Maybe you have an afternoon on Thursday draft. Their fantasy advice is draft Zay Flowers. And I tend to agree. In fact, I was about to draft him in my fantasy draft on Tuesday, and then someone took him, literally the pick right in front of me. But ESPN goes on to say a high floor target due to his deployment in the Ravens offense. Flowers can win as a route runner or produce as a horizontal stretch option on schemed touches. Flowers averaged 12.2 points per game in 2024, and he had 11 games with double-digit production. In my opinion, this might be the biggest year yet for Zay Flowers. Okay? I'm expecting a really, really, really big season out of Zay. I love pretty much everything that he brings to the table. And I believe there's a couple reasons why he's going to break out this year, okay? He added a ton of weight this offseason. He's not near as small as he was. Nothing's ever going to help his lack of height, but his frame is a lot bigger. You always notice as well in the National Football League, the biggest jump in production and the biggest jump in improvement is usually from year 2 to year 3. Well, that's this offseason for him, going from year 2 to year 3. And also, there's more wide receivers in this room to worry about. You might look at adding DeAndre Hopkins and thinking that the addition of him just means more mouths to feed, which just means less food for Zay Flowers. But I would argue with you, that just means more attention off of Zay Flowers and onto somebody else. He's not going to see as intensive coverage as he's seen in the past couple of seasons because there's more guys that can harm you by catching the football. Predict Zay Flowers' stat line for me in 2025. I want receptions, I want yards, and I want touchdowns. Okay? You let me know in the comment section down below what you think Zay Flowers' stat line is going to be. Now it is time for the bold prediction. Okay, we've heard pretty much everything from ESPN. Where are they thinking is going to be a surprising improvement or surprising prediction for this season? Well, they went with Keaton Mitchell. Running back Keaton Mitchell, ESPN says, will have at least 4 games with 20-plus fantasy points. This is more or less me running back, pun intended, my bold prediction from a year ago when I was also bullish on Mitchell. Perhaps I was a year too early then. And I'm not going to lie, it's hard for me to see this happening, not because of the player that Keaton Mitchell is, because I love Keaton Mitchell. I think he's phenomenal. I mean, remember what he looked like in the preseason week 1? It was unbelievable. But there's just a lot of really good weapons in this offense. Like, think of how far he is down the totem pole. Zay Flowers, or Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, DeAndre Hopkins, maybe Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell tied down there. Like, that, you have to go far down the list to get to Keaton Mitchell. I think he's a stud, but 4 games, 20 more fantasy points, that seems a little bit, I don't want to say impossible, but hard to believe for me. My bold prediction is Rashad Bateman is going to be this team's wide receiver 1. I get it. I just talked about how good of a year Zay Flowers is going to have, and I believe he's going to have that year. But I think this speaks less on Zay Flowers and more on how I feel about Rashad Bateman. I absolutely love Rashad Bateman. Who he is as a deep threat to this offense and to Lamar Jackson is something truly special, and I believe last year was just his first year getting started. What's your bold prediction for this season? Let me know in the comment section down below. ESPN's was all over Keaton Mitchell. I'm all over Rashad Bateman. You let me know who you're all over this next year. That's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you got me on Twitter. Make sure you got me on Instagram. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you love the Baltimore Ravens, you found the best place to be. Right here on the Ravens Rundown. We'll have you covered all season long. Daily videos, all 100% free.